Standards Committee. My name is Councillor Victoria Alcock and I'm the chair of this committee. Alongside members of the committee, I'm joined today by Ciara Keller from Democratic Services, Marcia Eccleston, Head of Law and Governance and the Monitoring Officer, Richard Ball, Head of Resources and the S151 Officer, Paul Clark, Warwickshire County Council Internal Audit Manager, and Karen Jones from Assets. I'd like to welcome also our new Paris Council representatives to this meeting, Councillors Trevor Gill and David Roach. Welcome all. Committee members, when invited to address this meeting, can you please ensure your microphone is switched on so that it is picked up via the live audio feed. When you have finished addressing the meeting, please turn off your microphone immediately. Can you please ensure you've switched off or have to silent any of the devices you may have that will interrupt the proceedings? Can you also please note that this meeting is also being broadcast live and members of the public not in attendance today are able to view the proceedings. Now on to the agenda. Item 1 on the agenda, apologies for absence. Have we received any apologies?
We have apologies from Councillors Ian Fradgley, Jenny Fradgley, Peter Hencher-Serafin and Mr Mike Dunn.
Thank you very much. Item 2, disclosure of interest. Do any committee members have any interest they would like to declare in relation to items on the agenda? Okay, thank you very much. Item 3, minutes. Are there any points members wish to raise? Can you please indicate, otherwise I'll take the minutes as noted. Okay, thank you very much. Then the minutes are noted. Excuse me a moment. Right, item 4 on the agenda, appointment of a vice chair. Can I now please seek nominations for vice chair of the Audit and Standards Committee? Councillor Ostrander.
Thank you. I would like to propose Kate Rolfe as Vice Chair.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'd like to second that proposal.
Thank you, Councillor Keithley. Do I have any more nominations? Then, Councillor Rolfe, you are the Vice Chair of Audit and Standards Committee. Thank you very much. I'm so good at roping people into things. Right. Item 5 on the agenda, the start times of meetings. So this item is to consider the start time meetings for 2024 and 25. Now, as Chair, I'd like to propose that the meetings continue at 4:30. Anybody like to second that proposal? Thank you, Councillor Ostrander, for seconding. Do I have any other suggestions? Oh, you're a very good committee. Then, thank you. Are we all agreed that the meeting stay for 4:30 then?
It depends how long these meetings go on for, but Monday nights at either end of the calendar are always a committee night for somebody. Tonight I have to leave at quarter to 6. So it is a very late meeting, I think, and sometimes the agendas are packed. Tonight's is probably an example of that. And I do think that we need to be mindful of the impact this has on officers as well, such a late start for a meeting, really. I take it, proposal seconded has gone through as it would do anyway, but I do think that it is late and we do need to be mindful of officers' time, because it's not just those sitting in this room, it's keeping the building open as well. So with regret, Chair, I will need to leave probably by 5:45 tonight if this is not wrapped up. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wally Hoggins. Would you like to propose a different start time?
I understand the need to have a later start time. I acknowledge that. And a start time of 3 o'clock, I think, would give people time to get out, the meeting finished within a reasonable time frame to allow people to then go on to their second meetings. I haven't got anybody for a seconder unless there's anybody here who would do that.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Shenton, you would like to?
Yeah, I'd second that because I share the same problem tonight. I'll need to leave early because I have parish council meetings. Monday, I have 10 parish councils, Monday night being the favoured night for parish council meetings. So I will need to leave at the latest, sort of 6:15, to make sure I'm there on time.
Thank you, Councillor Shenton. Councillor Rolfe, did you have a comment?
Yes, I did. I mean, I think we have to be mindful of those that work full-time. I personally find this quite a good time, depending on how long the meeting takes. I'm just wondering whether there is a compromise of 4 o'clock. I think, you know, it could be a time that people could get to a meeting for and maybe finish by 5:45, 6 o'clock at the latest. I'm just throwing it out there and wondering whether it's up for debate. Thank you.
This is up for debate, so I'm quite willing to open the floor. Councillor Rolfe, your proposal of 4 o'clock, is that your proposal you are putting in?
As a kind of compromise between Councillor Wally Hoggins and the 4:30, is 4 o'clock more amenable? I don't know. I could do either.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder, please, for the 4 o'clock start time? Councillor Strander, thank you. Councillors, we do have 3 proposals on the table currently. However, I will withdraw my proposal of the 4:30 start time. So what we'll do, we'll take each proposal in turn, starting with Councillor Wally Hoggins. Your proposal of a 3 o'clock start that has been seconded by Councillor Shenton. Can I see a show of hands, please? That is 3, and against, please. Thank you. That proposal has lost. Councillor Rolfe, your proposal of a start time at 4 o'clock, seconded by Councillor Ostrander. Can I see a show of hands in favour of 4 o'clock start, please? And against, please? That has passed. Audit and standards will start at 4 o'clock. Thank you very much, members. Moving on to the next agenda, item 6, public participations, questions by the public. I've had none received for this meeting. Item number 7 on the agenda, standards, update on standards issues. I'll invite Marcia Eccleston to present her report, please.
Thank you, Chair. So you have the report before you, councillors, and I'm just going to pick out just a few salient points because I'm sure you'll have had a chance to read it. In terms of Appendix 1 on the Code of Conduct complaints, you'll see that we've had a number of complaints in less than a year, really. We're averaging about 2 or 3 complaints a month. And in fact, the reality is with some of the complaints, there can be more than one complainant on it. So let's put it this way, it's keeping the monitoring officer team rather busy, but it's essential work that needs to be done. So moving on to page 9, I have it as in the bundle, which is table 2A, which is the information governance data. Well, you see that data before you, but I'd like to take you to page 5, the penultimate paragraph, where it says the ICO has a target for baseline responses. And in 2023 to 24, quarter 4, we exceeded that target, 96.37% in terms of a response time. So then moving on to what I refer to as page 13, hopefully it's the same in your bundle. There's a reference to the types of matters that the monitoring officer team deals with. That includes references to whistleblowing referrals, dispensations, and the information is there for you to see. I'm going over the page to page 8 because at page 8 there is a reference to the unreasonable complaints policy. As you can see from the table, we were rather active in quarter 3 and quarter 4. Quarter 1, there were no unreasonable complaints, new ones to report, save for what you see before you. And Table 7 is, in fact, the local government ombudsman's records of matters upheld where there's been complaints about the council. And they provide a printout for us only once a year. So we're waiting for 23-24. They track a couple of years behind. So the only one we have is 22 to 23, and only one item was upheld. And if you click on that link, obviously you'll see what that item relates to. Okay. Unless I can assist further.
Councillor Rolfe, please. Sorry, Councillor Rolfe, please.
Yeah, thank you, Marcia. It's been many years since I've been on audit and standards, and if my memory serves me correctly, I've never seen so many code of conduct complaints as are tabled here today, and all of them, I think most of them are sort of 1 and 2, treated others with disrespect, bullied, harassed or discriminated against a person. Firstly, is it unusual from your point of view? And secondly, is there something that could be done about parish councillors attending code of conduct training? Has that been suggested? I don't know. I'm simply asking that question, if I may. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Firstly, in terms of training, that is something that's being looked at as we speak. And I also understand that training has been offered previously, that is before I arrived, around code of conduct. So I don't want to make it sound as though I'm changing the world. It was offered as well before by the outgoing monitoring officer. But certainly it's something that is being looked at now, given the volume of matters that are being dealt with. And I just want to give some balance. There's also a lot of excellent work being done across the district and with parish councillors as well. But when it does go wrong or there are concerns, then obviously we have to deal with it through the agreed process.
So just to follow up, you would agree that it's a little unusual that there are so many?
I can't account for what it looked like before because I've only been here since August. But I will say, for having done this role before, this is not unusual for me to see, unfortunately. It's not unusual for me to see. Whether it's unusual for Stratford, I can look at that next time and come back to you.
Thank you. I'd quite like to see that in a comparison. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wally-Hoggins, please.
Yes, thank you for this detailed report, Marcia. One of the questions that I have here is that I did wonder if some of the code of conduct complaints were from the same parish councils, perhaps, that we get into a he said, she said sort of scenario, and that when one complaint arrives, another one is made. Is there any way, you don't have to comment on that, but is there any way in future of, I don't know, putting an asterisk or something in a box so that we can see that it's all from the same parish council, if it were? Does that make sense? Because then you pick up a so at the moment this looks like a huge number. I mean, how many have we got here? It's a lot. Is this all set? So the question is then, are these all separate and different parish councils?
Thank you for that. What I will say is some of them are repeat parish council areas, and I'm quite happy to say that. What I won't share is which parish councils for confidentiality, but some of them are, but not as many as you might think.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Geddy, do you want to ask a question?
Can I just pass a comment? I think it would be worth you contacting the Warwickshire Association of Local Councils. I sit on their board and I believe that they do training under Code of Conduct. So maybe there's an opportunity to share this burden with Warwickshire Association. Janine Day, I'm sure, will be pleased to hear from you. It is an issue that Walk is aware of as well, and I think there's some merit in actually Walk, who are representing local councils, and yourselves working together on this problem.
If I may. Thank you very much, Councillor, for that. I am working very closely with WALC already around a number of issues, including, as you say, code of conduct related matters. And I'm aware that they provide training as well, just as the outgoing previous monitoring officer used to try and provide training as well. So I'm hopeful that that collaborative work will continue.
Councillor Shenton.
Thank you, Chair. Just a very quick one. On page one of the table one page, which is page 1 or page 7, whichever way you want to look at this. The third one down, it says complaint upheld. This is CC 066, and the council to submit an apology. Why is that one still outstanding? Because at the very least, the council would have met every 6 months, so it should have gone past the 6 month mark now anyway. I'm quite happy for you to take that away. It's just an observation that it should have been resolved by now, and if not, I suppose the question is why not then? You know.
Thank you for that. What I will say is that the date you see on here is the date that it's received, not the date that it's actually concluded on, but I can get that information and update you.
Councillor Littlewood.
Thank you, Chair. The head of law and governance and Councillor Gist will know that parish council training is something I have an interest in and have recommended and asked that it be looked at. This quite clearly shows that it's not just a planning issue, that it's a general broad brush of how one should conduct oneself as a councillor, whether it be at district, county or indeed at parish. The push over the last at least 5 years, 10 years has been for localism. And localism requires a standard of conduct and hard work from district councillors. And clearly, this is not being recognised as it should be. And perhaps there is a lack of understanding of the seriousness of being a parish councillor and what that means. And I really would urge that you look at that in the round and come back with some recommendations how we can help continuous improvement in all areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Just so that you're aware, one of the items later on this agenda speaks to civility and respect, which is part way to some of those concerns that you have referenced. I just wanted to add that in terms of the councillors, when they do sign up to be councillors, they also sign up to be bound by the Code of Conduct rules, which are about respect and civility. So there are, and it's recognised that some additional work needs to be done, but when they are signing up to be councillors, they are also signing up to that code.
Do you have a follow-up, Councillor Littlewood?
Yes, please. Just a comment on that, and thank you for your response, and I accept what you say. I think there is a difficulty recruiting parish councillors. We know that. And part of that is the belief that it's very difficult to get anything done. But the trend towards localism means that if you work in a professional way and understand what you can do and how to do it, and I think that would help parish councillors take on board their responsibilities and proud of what they do. I mean, that's what we're trying to do, is get people working together at a local level, which will save this authority a lot of hard work, and your department.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have any more comments or questions? Then could I please ask for a proposer for the recommendation that the information in that this one is the report is noted. So could I please have a proposer? Councillor Strander, thank you, and a seconder, please. Councillor Shenton, thank you very much. We all agreed with that, please, councillors. Thank you very much. Item number 8, notice of motion, the civility and respect pledge. I will again invite Marty Eggleston to present the report.
Thank you, Chair. So just regarding this report, again, you've had it before you, so I won't insult your intelligence by going through it line by line, but I will just pick up on 1.2, which was part of what the motion referenced, and it was, and I'm sort of almost second sentence towards the end of it, or if not the last sentence, SDC undertakes to work with WALT to encourage all town and parish councils to adopt the civility and respect pledge and to endorse it ourselves to ensure councillors, clerks, employees, members of the public and representatives of partner organisations and volunteers are all treated with civility and respect in their roles. So in terms of the motion today, the options before you, councillors, are two, really. Given what detail is in the report with the reference links, do you feel it's something you can debate and make a decision on today, or is it something that you consider you'll need a working party to look at in more detail before you make any formal decisions? Now, the reason why there's an option 1 and there's an option 2 is because in reference to that particular motion, it's about this council supporting WALC in the delivery of that civility and respect pledge. And it's really the definition of what you call support. Is that resources? Is that training? Etc., which may, in fact, inform your decision as to whether or not you want a working party or you feel able to debate it today. It's as much as I'd want to add at this particular time, save as and except to say that, as you'll see, that whatever we do needs to sit consistently with our own constitution on respect and civility and the law.
So, councillors, I'll put it out to you. Councillor Wally-Hoggins, please.
Yes, thank you. Those of us that were in council the last time, after the last lot of elections, will know that I think it suffices to say that the council was brought into disrepute, really, in some ways, by the conduct of councillors. We took it very seriously at that time, and we had a training for all councillors, we embraced the change and the need for that. We set up the Respect Champions group, which was lovely Jill Cleave and I were the sort of founding members of that. I think there's going to be something, there's going to be a reboosting of that as well, which I'm hoping to take part in. The only thing that I would say is that to have a working party delays the process somewhat. But what I will say in this meeting is that I think there is a need, and I've observed a need, that perhaps we need to do refresher training or new training regarding, perhaps not as detailed as the last time, but I think there is scope for an additional training session so that everybody's very clear what respect means and the culture of respect. Does that make sense? Because we are lots of new faces, and I don't recall, unless anybody else can, that we've had the respect training as part of our initial training programme. But if anybody else can say that we have had, but it was useful. People got varying degrees out of it, but again, I will go so far as to say that I think that the training should be compulsory again for this. We've already seen shenanigans at Warwickshire County Council, and I think that this is, to embrace this and to offer the training would be a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wally-Hoggins. Do I have any further comments? Councillor Rolfe, please.
I would agree with Councillor Wally-Hoggins. I'm not sure we need a working party. My only concern, I think, would be how we ensure everyone signs up to it and keeps that pledge, if you like. And if that pledge is broken, or if, how we deal with it, with complaints, we've just discussed complaints, etc. How robust are we going to be in that? I don't know, I am a parish councillor, I'm a town councillor, but it's all the other organisations that we would all want to encourage to take part in this. I don't think you can force them. I don't think anybody can force them and say. But I'm concerned if people are not going to sign up to it, how we ensure that civility and respect is kept.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Rolfe. I will come back to you in a moment, Councillor Roy-Hoggins. Councillor Gill, please.
I don't know whether you know, but I sit on the Internal Audit Forum, UK-wide, for parish councils. If it's the wish of this committee, I will take an action point to that forum and suggest that this becomes part of the internal audit of all parish councils in the UK, to say that if this is not adopted, we put a strong recommendation in our written reports that this must be adopted by all parish councils. So I'm making that offer if it's the committee's wish to take that forward to the IAF.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say that at page 23, NALC, and this is from their website basically, about what they're hoping to achieve by that pledge, details a number of items that they'd like to take forward. And hopefully in that paperwork you will have seen that quite a number of parish councils have already signed up to it. So for us as a district council, we wouldn't be signing up to it, we'd be looking to support it in any way we can. And so the suggestion by Councillor Gill and the suggestions you make as members today would be all part of that.
Thank you. Councillor Roach, did you wish to speak?
Yes, I was just going to make the comment that in the same way that any councillor, whether they be parish councillors or district councillors, are assumed to sign up to the code of conduct if they sit on a council, then surely they are assumed to sign up to the civility code if they are sitting on a parish council or a district council, assuming that district council and parish council has signed up to the code. So the question about whether you can enforce this or not, I would have thought is a moot question. If a parish council doesn't sign up to it, and presumably doesn't sign up to the code of conduct, then I think there should be a very large question mark about their conduct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just to confirm that we have checked and all the parish councils and town councils are signed up to the code of conduct. That much I do know.
Thank you. Councillor Wally-Hoggins.
Yeah, I think I really like the suggestions that have come from our parish council representatives today. I think you know, Councillor Gill, I think that's a great idea. I think we have to remember that we are we are the, if you like, we go into parish council meetings and people are looking to us for a lead. I'm sure I'm not alone sitting around this table when I've called people out for their behaviour in meetings and, you know, been quite forceful about that. And I think that that is what we do in spades, given our level of, given our positions, really, that, you know, certainly I won't take abuse at meetings and will call people out about it. And, you know, and I won't allow other people on, you know, for that to happen. You know, we are the champions here, really, I know I'm older than some of you, I remember that tagline, but I think that we can do this. I don't think we need to have a working party. I think today we can come up with some agreements here. I think there is an element of training and a refresher course is needed for everybody. And I think that I don't think it is unreasonable of us to require all councillors to sign up to it. And also, I wonder if we could also make a note of it, you know, on our on the Tempest thing, where you say, you know, this is Councillor Sarah Wally-Hoggins. She has signed up to the civility. Does that make sense? And she's that you know, you wear it as a badge of honour. Maybe with some of the money that we've got from the 40,000 on the you know, the anniversary of the council, that we could have a badge to put on our here to say signed up to to the civility. You know, that's the kind of thing. I know it sounds a bit cheap, but actually people need to know that we know that their opinions matter, but also that we're not going to be abused. For goodness sake, it's everywhere from Parliament downwards. I've spoken for far too long, but thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Warry-Hoggins. Councillor Shenton, please.
Thank you, Chair. I have no problem with this pledge. The pledge, as you've got on there on page 23, that's the pledge straight out of the NELC website. I'm looking at it here. My only concern is, as Councillor Roach just mentioned about enforcement, I have a slight problem with that because not every clerk, I mean this is in collaboration with the SLCC, well not every clerk is a member of the SLCC. It's in collaboration with NELC. Not every parish council is a member of NELC or of a county association. I just wonder how enforceable it really is. I think it's worthwhile, but it's the enforcing, and that can't be down to us. We can't force the clerks to be qualified clerks because they're hard enough to get anyway. We can't force parish councils, especially small ones, to pay fees to NELC. You know, so I just wonder about the enforcement side of it. I'm not against this in any way. I'd support it. I think it's a simple pledge.
Thank you, Councillor Shenton. Did you wish to come in?
I'm just looking at the page 23 again, which was another excerpt from the NALT website. And they do say that one of the things they're doing is supporting the continued lobbying for changing legislation to support the civility and respect pledge, including other sanctions for elected members where appropriate. Because obviously it's not always going to be appropriate, sort of thing, clearly. But that's part of what's happening in the background. And some of that conversation is continuing with Janine at Walk, who's been referenced, who is the regional chair of local clerks, who is also wedded to the civility and respect pledge.
Thank you for that. Councillor Keithley, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Very interested to hear what Councillor Roach had said and picking up on Councillor Shenton as well. I think training is really important, but like any training, I remember when I was at work, we felt that, you know, you'd made a training input, but then the effect of that training waned quite quickly. People forget it, don't they? And a one-off training isn't really what you need in these circumstances. I do think many of the parish councils have tried to sign up to this pledge, but the evidence from the complaints that we're seeing, and I'm not sure whether they're coming from the public against councillors or between the councillors and clerks, does suggest that there's still some problems in this area. What I would like to see is when a councillor, and I don't believe this was the case when I signed up as a parish councillor, when you sign up to adhere to the Nolan principles, don't you? But I don't remember when I became a parish councillor signing up also to this civility pledge at the same time. So I think Councillor Gill picked this up as a possibility to go back with. What I'd like to see is an annual certification as well of a renewal of that pledge rather than a one-off signing up to it. So I don't know if that's something you want to comment on, but that's something I'd like to see.
Thank you, Councillor Keithley. I beg your pardon, Councillor Gale.
Sorry, as part of the internal audit, we do review when all policies, including the civility and respect pledge, was last reviewed. So, in my opinion, that should be renewed every year, which then enforces to councillors that you signed up to the code when you first joined, but that might be 3.5 years ago. So again, the internal audit function performs a good review of that, or should do, to make sure that councillors are reminded of the pledge that they signed up to. And I think that's important.
Thank you for that, Councillor Gale. Right, I'll just bring everything together. We've had the suggestion that a working group isn't necessary. which personally I do also agree with. However, the training that we were offered last year, there may be code of conduct training, but the respect training went quite a lot deeper than that. So a recommendation, please, that would you wish the training to be mandatory for all the Stratford-on-Avon district councillors, as it was before? Absolutely, okay. I got that definitely. Which we can put onto the member development to request that. So once the training has been conducted, and obviously we'll need more than one session because trying to get everyone together is never easy. So that's the first recommendation you'd like to put forward, that the respect training is mandatory for all members. After that, where would you like that to go? Councillor Rolfe.
Are you suggesting the training is an annual training, an update, a refresher training? No? No, it's just, I can't remember which councillor said that you could be a councillor for, 4 years, obviously, and you do that one-off training and you don't sort of do it again. I don't know, should we be reminded every so often of how we need to respect each other? Just a thought.
I'll come to you in a moment, Councillor Keithley. Can I bring in the monitoring officer first, please?
Thank you, Chair. Just an observation, really. The pledge, just going back to it, was very specific to supporting the parish council. So I'm assuming when we reference the training, we're talking about training support and provision of training involving the parish councillors at the district level as well. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe that is correct. As Councillor Wally Hoggins said, we need to lead. And the way we lead is that we lead and we do it first. And then we encourage our parishes through each of our wards to follow what we are doing as a district and training, etc., through the areas. Councillor Wally Hoggins, please.
Yeah, I just going.
Beg your pardon, Councillor Keithley, you did ask to speak first. I beg your pardon.
I was just picking up the point that Councillor Rolfe made about, you could be a councillor, you could be a councillor for 4 years, you've done the training once on day one and you haven't had it done again. When I was on the parish council, the annual meeting of the parish council was an ideal time to renew these pledges, because at the same time you renewed your policies, you went through who was going to lead various working groups and stuff like that. So it would seem to me that there's potentially a vehicle to renew a pledge through that process, and if that were then audited as suggested by Councillor Gill, that would be something that would you could sort of close the loop on that.
Thank you, Councillor Keithley. Now, Councillor, or did you wish to come in, Councillor Wally Hoggins, please?
Yeah, just to say that I think that if we did this training, maybe we wouldn't have such an exhaustive, double-paged list of parish councils that are that we're faced with here. One can hope. Thank you.
Absolutely, that would be the plan. Councillor Shenton, please.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Still come back to how you enforce this and the sanctions. The councillors are guided, and parish councils are guided by the Local Government Act 1972, and it was amended. You're talking about the only person that can remove a councillor are the people that elected them. So how do you enforce a sanction? What do we say? The sanction is they can't sit in the chamber. That's actually not possible under current legislation. I come back to, I'm not against this. I just think it has to go in stages. We have to get everything in place, the sanctions, and decide exactly how we're going to enforce it, rather than just saying, we will audit it or we will enforce it. It's a so what and what, if you like.
Do you wish to come in then I'll speak afterwards.
Thank you, Chair. Just one final comment from me, which is in our current code of conduct, if something is going all the way through the code of conduct system, rather than just being dealt with by the monitoring officer, then, as you know, there is a panel that can sit, a standards panel, which is, if you like, a subgroup of this committee, who would be the decision makers as to any outcome if it got that far. And that's our current process. As you know from the paperwork that you've seen, there's already some lobbying going on to try and make those sanctions even more so.
Thank you, Ms McAllister-Smith. You wish to speak?
That's that button. Thank you very much indeed, Chair. I've been one of your two independent persons for the last couple of years. It's been very interesting seeing what comes across the desk and seeing the complaints that come through. And so I wholeheartedly endorse the idea of having a civility policy, a civility and respect policy. It's absolutely what I think is needed to set against quite a number of those complaints. I have to say that I've been astonished by the levels of vitriol that appear particularly between councillors at parish level. To be honest, it's rather depressing. Marcia and I have shared my concern that there aren't sanctions that can be put in place. We've had the clear description of the absence of the ability to sanction people who are clearly not behaving with civility and respect. And at the end of the day, there's very little that can be done if you follow conventional wisdom. So I do wonder whether the council needs to think laterally about what other sanctions might be available, including naming and shaming is entirely the wrong description of the process, but actually identifying councils where behaviours between councillors are really unacceptable from the point of view of the local residents. I just think it might be possible to do that, and I know there'll be concerns about confidentiality and all of this kind of thing, but actually we're talking about public service on behalf of local people, and if councils are so dysfunctional that that is not happening, actually somebody needs to say something, in my view.
Thank you. Yes, Marcia, please.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of Ed, he's right. We've worked very closely on a number of matters. As the independent person, I'm required to liaise with you and the other independent person. What I will say is, and I'll keep stressing this, not all parish councils are dysfunctional. I just need to make that absolutely clear. And there's a lot of good work that's achieved by those local councils. It's just that where it does go wrong, it certainly does. I just want to clarify a couple of points. I recognise all of you won't have had a chance to look at the Constitution because it's a big read. But what I will say is that it does allow for censure in there. It does allow for publication of outcomes if that is what you decide if a matter gets to that stage. It's just that things have to go through a particular process, and that process is quite lengthy because it has to be fair to all parties concerned.
I will bring you in one moment, Councillor Wood. I'm very much more in the favour of the carrot rather than the stick. And this could be something simple as on every parish council, district council, town council website, under the councillor's name, where it could read, I sign and abide by the civility pledge. If a councillor hasn't, and that has been upheld, that line is removed. It's not a big admin headache, but if a councillor is found to not have abided by civility pledges we are talking about today, or code of conduct, etc., it's a line that can be removed. Makes it public. Don't think of any details of the reason why. And that would be a suggestion. I'll come to you in a moment, Councillor. Councillor Littlewood, please.
Thank you, Chair. Well, yes, I was kind of going to say what you just said, but the thing is, and to answer Councillor Shenton's comments about how do you enforce, we've heard from there are means, but really and truthfully, that's at the wrong end of the game. What we need to be doing, and I think I use your phrase, is lead by example, and let us mark the standards that we think are required, and encourage through education and training and repeated mention as necessary of what's required. And it's changing cultural changes take a long time. You can enforce and you can change the rules and inform everybody of that, but to actually get people's attitude to change takes a long time, and probably longer than the term of service of the average parish councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Littlewood. Councillor Wally Hoggins, I'll bring you in again.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't just remove the line, put ex-parish council has not signed up to, which is more explicit, really. And I think that, you know, then it's fair warning then to people, isn't it, really? Thank you.
So to wrap up this then, as a council, we're going to lead by example and put in through member development the respect training that I must admit was excellent, and I think it'd be very important for councillors to attend again and for the new ones to attend that, and then we can say that we as a district council have signed up to the pledge, and to encourage further parish town councils to also do the same. Is that okay? I believe I just did a proposal. I can feel the vibes coming. If you're happy with my proposal, could I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Wally Hoggins, thank you very much. Any other proposals? Councillor Rolfe.
No, I absolutely agree with you, but about saying this councillor has not signed up. But what if they have signed up and then there's been a complaint and it's been upheld? So you can't put they have not signed up. They have signed up, but actually they've breached that pledge. So there should be different wording. Either remove them altogether, remove the line that they've signed up, or I don't know. Do you see what I'm trying to say? If they have signed up and then they've breached it, and that has been upheld, to say they have not signed up is untrue.
I will just come in there. I'll bring you in a moment. Could it then say, Councillor Victoria Alcock has signed up to the civility pledge, underneath, Councillor Ivor Wood, just saying this right now, just use myself as an example, Councillor Alcock did not follow the civility pledge, or did not abide. Confidentiality, okay. Yes, okay. One moment, please. Councillor Littlewood, do you wish to come in?
Yes, it's just a comment that the process is usually an apology, a public apology, in the parish council meeting, unless there's other sanctions that have to be applied, both of which need to be made public, really. The public apology is making it public, and possibly part of those sanctions is to re-attend some truncated training to remind the key points. It's
that already exists. That exists already.
That does, yeah, that does exist already with the recommendation. Councillor Wally Hoggins, do you wish to come in?
Yeah, I only said about the parish council has not signed up to X, Y and Z. I didn't realise it was going to apply to individual councillors, but hey, in for a penny, in for a pound. There we go.
No, I mean, that you can't do that anyway, so that proposal is not... Councillor Gill, do you wish to speak, please?
Can I make a suggestion? Can I sit down with the monitoring officer for half an hour and can I suggest that we will come up with something that comes back to this committee meeting? Because some of the things that I think are being suggested, like taking things off websites, putting things on websites, with respect, I think parish councils will ignore that. So I think what we need to do is to get Walk involved, and I'd like to sit down with the monitoring officer for half an hour and try and come up with something that I think would be workable within parish councils. Because with all due respect to yourselves, from a parish council's point of view, if they haven't signed up to civility and they're not interested in it, whatever we say to them, they're going to ignore. So I think we need to come up with something more than that with Walk and everybody else involved in this. I know for a fact that every week Walk sent out a weekly newsletter saying, please sign up to the civility and pledge. And that goes out to every clerk in the area every week, and they're ignoring it. So I'd like to suggest that we have half an hour talk and see whether we can come back to this meeting with something that might help to solve the problem.
Okay, thank you. Monitoring officer, please.
Thank you, Chair. The two options today were whether or not you wanted to go off for a working group to consider this in more detail, or whether or not you make your decision today as the committee, if that makes sense, rather than a separate meeting between myself and one other. And I appreciate what you've said, Councillor Gitt, but I think that it's probably a consideration of the two options as they are. If we're saying that we need to consider more information, then it may be that you need to consider the working group.
Councillor Shenton.
To wind this up, can we therefore put that proposal for a working group in front of everyone? If there's no seconder, that fails, we go back to option one then, and it's as simple as that. Because we're batting this backwards and forwards. So I'm quite happy to propose we go for a working group. If there's no seconder, it falls, and that's the end of it. We go and we move on, because we're trying to we've got into the detail now, and really, that wasn't what we meant to do. So I'll propose that we go for the other option, which is working group, and can we then take the vote on it and wind this up?
Thank you, Councillor Shenton. Do I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Littlewood, would you like to second that proposal?
Please do second that.
We've got a proposal and we have a seconder. Can I see all hands in favour of developing a working group for this item? And against, please? And abstaining? No, I didn't. Councillor Shenton.
I didn't expect that outcome.
Me neither. Yes, you can interject, Councillor.
Right. Another working group is quite the thing, really, but what we could consider doing is saying, this is great, really good. Now what we need from somebody, it's not necessarily us to do this, because I don't think this is our job at Audit and Standards to do this. What we actually require now is to meet some proposals, not from us, some proposals as to how we get the meat put on these bones. And that is my proposal then, is that we agree to accept these in principle. So that's going back to option B from our papers, and that we request that at our next meeting of Audit and Standards that we come back with how this is going to come about, because I don't think it's our job to say what we're expecting on this. Am I am I wrong? But I don't think it is for us to say how this should be, how it should kind of, the rules and regulations behind it. Thank you.
Two things I wanted to say, Chair. Firstly, we hadn't quite finished the vote because you hadn't voted, so you'll need to consider whether or not you want to do that. So that's the first thing. But on the point that you make, in principle, the decision about whether or not the council signs up to this, in the first instance, you as Audit and Standards would make that first decision, and then it would be a matter for full council to make a final decision. Does that make sense?
So therefore then, I propose that we must not delay this decision today, and that we must go ahead and accept what we've got in front of us. It will then go to full council, and then there will be more meat on those bones. Is that do I have a second? I don't know. It's up to you to do that. But are you happy with that, Chair? Is that okay?
Okay, thank you, Councillor Rolly Hoggins. Now, as you know, I didn't vote. I'm voting against the Working Party. So, thank you. I got there in the end. So that motion is lost to Councillor Shenton. Which brings us back to the... No?
We had 4 in favour, 2 against, 2 abstain.
So technically it's... So by against the... Councillor Shenton?
As from my recollection, it's with your vote now, it's 4-2-2.
Yes.
Whilst it was unexpected.
It is.
We'd now have to overturn that vote. And having said that we were going for option 2 in that vote, there isn't an option 3. We refused option 1. I think we need your help here, Marcia.
Thank you. It's quite in order for you as the chair to decide and agree that you wish to withdraw a particular option that was on the table and vote on that you're going to be withdrawing that, and then move to whatever it is that you are now agreeing, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Councillor Ostrander, please.
I'd just like to add that I abstained because I wasn't clear what the Working Party's task would be. So I think that, therefore, that vote isn't particularly strong, if you see what I mean. I didn't feel able to really properly choose between the 2 options, and therefore I felt I needed to abstain.
Thank you, Chair. So where we are now is that we had 2 original options on the table, and then there was another proposal that was put by Councillor Ian Shenton, and that was voted on in a particular way. Thereafter, then Councillor Wally Hoggins made certain representations as well. So now we need to tidy up exactly where we are. So if we're now saying certain items are withdrawn from debate today, then you need to agree that. You need to propose in a second as to what's being withdrawn and what isn't.
Chair, I propose that we withdraw that previous vote. Do I have a second?
Can I have a second? Oh, don't put your hand up at once. Yes, seconded by Councillor Rolfe. All in favour, please. That is unanimous. Thank you. So we are now back to...
You're now back to the new proposal by Councillor Wally Hoggins, which was... Did you want to repeat that?
Councillor Wally Hoggins, do you remember your proposal?
Yeah, I think my proposal was that we don't delay, that we accept the proposals as they are here, with because we don't want to delay this being incorporated and going to full council, and that it will be at full council there'll be some debate there. But when it comes to full council, I fully expect there to be more meat on those bones. Now, we can't put meat on bones in a proposal, but there'll be a more detailed way as to how this council is going to embrace this.
Please, Marcia.
So in terms of that paper, in theory, it would reference some of the items that have been referenced today at this meeting,
Yeah.
and also Councillor Gill's reference to internal audit.
Yeah.
That's what I'm understanding from what
Yeah.
you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Shenton.
Second it.
Super, thank you very much. So we have a proposal on the table that has been seconded. All in favour, please. That is unanimous. Thank you very much. Right, moving on. Item 9 on the agenda, please. The RIPA corporate procedure. Can I please invite Matthew Eccleston to present her report, please?
Thank you, Chair. This is the RIPA corporate procedure document. And in fact, RIPA stands for Regulation of Investigatory Powers Act 2000. You have the document before you, so I wasn't going to go into the detail of it. But the bottom line is that when we refresh the document to keep it up to date, we are to bring it back to yourselves for approval, which is what we are doing today. Once you approve it, we will update it on our website and so that we are compliant with the Commissioner's Office of Surveillance on RIPA requirements.
Thank you, Marcia. Do I have any councillor comments on this? We are being asked to approve the Regulation of Investigatory Powers Act 2000 RIPA corporate procedures set out in Appendix 1. Councillor Shenton, please.
Just a very quick one. Are you able to highlight major changes between the previous policy and this one? Because what we've got is a policy here. We've no idea what those changes were. Or are you able to supply that? Well, no, I mean, can you go through it now? Are you able to tell us what the major changes are?
Okay. So one of the changes references me. I am the senior responsible officer. There was always ever a reference to the authorising officers, who are our chief exec and our deputy chief exec. But the title for the role of head and law and governance used to be governance and democracy, for instance. So that's one of the changes. Part of the reason why we bring the actual document back is not because it's changed, because the law is the law is the law. It's that you are meant to have sight of it as the convened committee and be satisfied that we are in compliance with it from what you've read.
Okay, then, Councillor, if there's no other comments on this, can I have a proposer and a seconder, please, for the recommendation stated? Councillor Rolfe proposing, Councillor Shenton seconding. All in favour, please, councillors. That is unanimous. Thank you very much. Item 10, the whistleblowing policy and procedure. I would like to invite Martha Eccleston to present the report, please.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Chair. This is hopefully a very brief report. The report hopefully highlights exactly why we're here. A report was presented by the previous monitoring officer detailing some actions that needed to be undertaken, and this is an update report advising that those actions have been taken. More specifically, they're referenced at 1.6 in the report. If you are in agreement, hopefully you will endorse the actual policy and document.
Okay, councillors, do you have any comments? Councillor Raleigh-Hoggins, please.
Yes, I'm delighted to see this before us with those details. It's a very important document and affects many people, and it is of some... Never underestimate the importance of a robust whistleblowing policy and the procedures laid out here. Thank you very much indeed for that hard work. Thank you.
Absolutely. Can I have a proposer and a seconder, please, for the recommendation? Councillor Raleigh-Hoggins to propose. A seconder, please. Councillor Ostrander. Thank you very much. And all in favour, please. That is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Item 11 on the report, the audit. This is the Internal Audit Annual Report 2023 to 2024. Could I please invite Paul Clark, hello, to present this report, please?
Thank you, Chair. So the annual report brings together really the work that's been done over the last year. If you think about the internal audit process, we undertake a planning process to identify the risks faced by the council and put together a plan of work, which in this case has been undertaken during 2023-24. Each audit we undertake has an opinion which comes out, and you've seen those opinions coming through the year in the interim update reports. So what this report now does is bring together an overall opinion from myself as the head of audit on the governance, risk management and control of the district council. I'm pleased to say that the assurance opinion this year is substantial assurance, which is the same as it was last year. That reflects the outcomes of the audits where there were 5 moderate assurance opinions and 7 substantial and 1 full assurance opinion. Pleased to report there were no limited assurance opinions in the last year, so good news overall. Since the last update report to committee, the land charges, business rates, NNDR and cyber security audits have been completed, and so those are brought into this overall opinion, and the opinion here then feeds into the annual governance statement, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillors, do you have any questions, please? Okay. Then the recommendation is that I'd like a proposer and a seconder for, please, that the Internal Audit Annual Report is approved. Can I have a proposer for that, please? Councillor Ian Shenton, thank you. And a seconder, please. Councillor Keithley, thank you very much. And all in favour? That's a little bit quick there for the mark, councillors. And against? And abstain? I meant to vote for. Oh, right. You all put your hands up very quick and down again. So can I just please ask that you all raise your hands if you are in favour of this, please? And just keep them up for a moment so we can just count. Thank you. That is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Next item on the agenda, item number 12, Internal Audit Progress Report. Can I please again invite Paul Clark to present the report?
Thank you, Chair. So this very much sort of dovetails together with the previous report, but it's the progress report picking up on the work since the last committee, shows the progress on the 23-24 plan, which is now almost complete. There are just 2 items which are being finished off. That's the corporate property and the cash collection pieces of work. Really sort of Q1 is finishing off old work and then making the planning process, getting that started on the new year work. So we set out the progress on 23-4 and then also the 24-5 planning, which is started. So you can see in the table there the items that are started for 24-5 and the rest of the work's been scheduled. Overall, we're happy with the progress of work against the plan and expect the work to be completed during the year. So I'm happy to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wally-Hoggins.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit concerned about, we look under services for resources, and I make reference to the previous paper as well. When we look at cyber risks, it's saying here that the level of assurance provided by controls is moderate and the direction of travel is a worsening. worsening situation. I'm guessing that could be because there are more threats and we don't know what's coming around the corner. But again, I then look at the current agenda item 12, and again, we're looking at the assurances given for cyber attacks is only moderate again. So I am a little bit concerned. Does anybody want to just tell me if I need to be quite concerned about this? I mean, I can see, I would accept that there's probably others, but we know from very recent history that cyber attacks can just bring you to your knees, really. So can I just invite some assurances on that? Thank you.
Well, I'm happy to say something on it, and maybe Richard will have a comment, I don't know. But as regards the cybersecurity work, in both reports, we're referring to the work done in 23-24. So there's a plan to revisit again in 24-25 because it is a key risk area. I think even when controls are good, moderate assurance may well still be an outcome just because of the level of risk. And as we know, even when you've got everything in place, things can still go wrong. So the risk is high in the cyber area. So I think when we go through the planning process, we expect it to be something we revisit regularly and just make sure that we're doing as much as we can. So for the work that's been reported on, we've got an agreed action plan coming out of that work, and that work's going forward, and we monitor progress with that alongside with the management team as well.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Passingham, please.
At the moment, I've got a particular interest in S106 and SIL money as an implementation, because there are 6 new developments in my ward, and I'd say 80% of the problems I have are sorting S106 and SIL things out, in the fact the contracts have been signed, they've been delayed, they haven't been implemented, and all sorts of things like that. So my question is, why has this been postponed, the audit on S106?
So the work on Section 106, we do have it in the plan for the current year, so it has had to be rescheduled just for sort of management scheduling reasons during last year, but we are expecting to complete the work within the year, so we will be able to report on it at one of the future committees.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rolfe, please. Did you have your hand up, Councillor Rolfe?
I was going to ask.
Well done, working together. Councillor Roach, please.
I was going to ask a similar question, but there are 3 audits from the 23-24 schedule that were postponed. I just wondered why 3 audits had been postponed and moved a year on.
Yes, there's particular reasons for each one. I think the changes to the plan have been brought to the previous meetings as we've agreed the changes during the year. So one of the items that was postponed was then replaced by one of the audits being brought forward. So I think the land charges audit that's recently been completed was one which would have been completed in 24/5 but was brought forward as a replacement audit. So we do try to balance the plan across, but make sure that we don't lose any audits and over a sort of rolling period of time where the work's carried out.
Who makes the decision on which audits are postponed?
So the plan for the year is set out and agreed in March. It comes along to this committee for review and comment, and so that's the starting point. There's always going to be changes to work during the year just because of changing circumstances. There might be a new risk that's emerged and we might need to bring forward an audit and put one back. So the process here is that there's a discussion with management over progress with the audit plan and any changes that need to be made. And then we bring within the update reports, we make a proposal to change the plan, which then comes through to this committee for consideration.
Thank you. Councillor Shenton, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just referencing the previous paper for this, but in the current workload, will you be having a look at the 4 recommendations that were not acted upon in the previous year? And are those 4 which it says that they're over 2 years old? Do some of those go back to 21-22, where there were 6, the following year 3, this one 4? How far back do these go, and what action can you take if your recommendations aren't followed up?
The process we've got, it's the items are followed up on a 6-monthly basis, and that report goes to the management team to review. So, chaired by the Chief Exec, the management team review all of the outstanding actions, and there's a discussion there about the reasons why, and my audit manager goes along to that meeting to hear the discussion and understand why certain items are being delayed. So we track it through that route, and there's active management of the process, and they're kept under review. And then in the annual report, as we see here today, there is a overview given to members of what that progress has been. I'd like to see all actions completed on time, but realistically, that doesn't happen. But I wouldn't have any particular concerns that Stratford Council was worse than other clients where we undertake internal audit work. So I think that's what I'd comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a follow-up, Councillor Shenton?
Thank you very much, Chair. So just going on slightly from that, we know that there were 6 in 21-22, there were 3 in 22-23, and 4 in 23-24. Do any of those, you've already said that you've not got any great concerns, but I also noticed that we don't have an audit opinion for the previous 2 years either. Do any of those impact upon that audit opinion? Is the audit opinion being delayed because of any of those actions?
Sorry, I have to clarify that. When you say we don't have an audit opinion, we've given an audit opinion in the annual report each year.
Sorry, I meant the external audit, do any of these recommendations, are they in any way, do they impact on that external audit opinion that we've not received?
Right, I'll have to defer to our external auditors on whether it would have an impact.
Yeah, thank you. If you could follow that up outside the meeting. Thank you. Do any of the councillors have any comments? We've been asked that the progress report be noted. Can I have a proposer and seconder for that, please? Councillor Shenton proposing, and a seconder, please. Councillor Passingham, thank you. And all in favour of that, please, councillors? Thank you very much. That is unanimous. Moving on to item 13, Annual Governance Statement 2023 to 2024. Could I please invite Paul Ball to present the report? Oh, I beg your pardon. I'm mixing everybody up together. I'm sorry. Richard Ball, sorry.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm using paper here because my laptop's just died on me. So, yeah, the report presents the Annual Governance Statement, which is a retrospective review of last financial year, 2023-24. and it considers the effectiveness of internal controls at the council. I'm pleased to say there were no major failings, and as Paul said, no limited audits to report on. So I present the report, as I say, attached to Appendix 1 for approval.
Councillors, do you have any questions regarding this, please? No? Okay. The recommendation that the draft annual governance statement as Appendix 1 be approved. Can I have a proposer and a seconder for that, please? Councillor Shenton, thank you very much. And a seconder? Councillor Strander, thank you very much. And all in favour? Thank you. That is unanimous again. Thank you. Right. Item 14 on the agenda. Assets, External Audit Plan 2023-24. Could I please invite Karen Jones from Assets to present the report, please?
Thank you, Chair. You have in front of you today our external audit plan, and I suppose just reflecting on the previous papers, we are backwards looking rather than forwards looking like internal audit are looking forward to 24-25. Our plan is in respect of 23-24. It identifies the scope of our audit and the work that we have been carrying out to date to ensure that actually we are continuing with the audit for 23-24. It does highlight the risk areas that we've identified at this stage, and in particular, and really to highlight to this committee, there is a risk around about the completion of your previous financial statements, and that will impact on the completion and the timing of our audit as well. I'm quite happy to talk about that in a bit more detail. The plan also covers our audit fees, and it also provides you with assurance that we are independent from the council. We do provide non-audit services to the council in relation to the audit of the council's housing benefit subsidy claim, but we do not perceive that to be a threat to the independence of our work. In relation to the risk areas, and in particular the implications that having outstanding opinions impacted on, that has been further delayed. We are more unknown about how that is going to look now following the elections. So prior to the elections, there were consultations out which were proposing putting in place a backstop to the previous audit opinions or previous audits, which would have probably materialised in disclaimer opinions put on your previous sets of financial statements. And the proposal set out a timescale for those as well, which included a timescale of the end of November for those to have had an opinion and been completed by. Because of the elections, the consultations were not, they haven't been formally reported on, and it is unclear at this stage what the new government, their intentions are in terms of either taking forward those proposals or changing those proposals. So with all that in mind, our intention is still to continue with as much as we possibly can for your 23-24 audit, but we, as I say, we will not be able to conclude on that until we have a clearer direction in terms of what your previous audits look like in terms of being completed and signed off. I wasn't going to go into any more detail, but I am obviously happy to take any questions on our plan.
Thank you for that. Councillors, do you have questions? Councillor Shenton, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. As you might imagine, coming back to this, I'm a bit concerned because we face this at, I know other councils are facing this issue. And in fact, we faced it at Warwick, but with Warwickshire County Council, but resolved that. We face the issue currently, if you like, that the timetable would seem to suggest generally, if all things were equal, by November, we'd have some idea of your opinion on this year's accounts. However, we've still, because the 21, 22 and 22, 23 haven't been signed off, you're unable to give that opinion. So we face the prospect of having 3 sets of accounts with no opinion, which to me is not acceptable. And I'm curious as to what it is that is holding up, and holding up the previous 2 sets of accounts, and whether that is a matter that the Audit and Standards Committee themselves should be aware of. Because it's quite a serious matter not to have an audit opinion. I'm teaching to. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to teach to suck eggs, but I think you'd agree it is a serious thing. And I'm just concerned that the scale fees, which are set, they've seen them in other authorities, and they've gone up substantially. And obviously, if you're involved in extra work, we could see a further increase in these fees at a time when most councils are struggling. So, what can we do to at least get the 21-22 ones signed off, and then move on to 22-23? And is there anything that, in your opinion, we should, as an Audit and Standards Committee, be aware of and be pressing somebody to do?
So I will come in, but potentially Richard will need to also come in on the back of that, because I can't speak on behalf of your predecessor auditors as well. What I would say at the outset is you're not alone. There is widespread across local government in England that local government bodies are facing either 1 year, 2 years or more outstanding opinions. There are some that are up to date, but it's probably a minority in comparison to the overall landscape. In terms of your predecessor auditors, unfortunately I can't speak on their behalf in terms of where they are, what they are planning to do. The proposals had set out, as I say, a backstop date whereby they were required to provide an opinion on those outstanding audits. That potentially wouldn't have been a complete audit, and the consultation was proposing that those audits would potentially have disclaimed opinions on them. And that would mean that actually they haven't potentially done work on certain areas to provide a full opinion. That does have an impact on our work. So if those proposals do come to light, in all likelihood they do require legislation, so they will not in all likelihood be with the proposals for the 30th of November for the deadline. But that does impact on the scope of our work and what we can do to provide assurances. And it might be in all likelihood that we also have to disclaim, because we don't have any assurances over the opening balances that
okay, I'm just going to, with advice from the monitoring officer, I'm just actually going to stop you there for a moment, Karen, if that's all right.
Of course.
Okay. I was actually going to say, Richard, are you willing to come in at that point, please?
Yeah, I would echo what Karen's saying. You asked, how did we get into this position? It's the 2020-21 that delayed everything. There's some technical adjustments that the auditors weren't happy with. They weren't prepared to make a decision on how they should interpret, it's to do with infrastructure assets, how they should interpret that legislation, and they waited until they were given clear guidance. And that meant that our 2021 accounts weren't finally signed off until the 4th of May last year. And I remember that because it was delegated to the chair of Audit Committee, and we were chasing around Stratford trying to get a signature before the election results were declared. So since that date, we've been working with our EY, our predecessor auditors, and their intention is to audit 2 sets of accounts at the same time, and to have that done by the end of September, which was the backstop date referred to. But that did rely on that legislation going to Parliament, and it would have gone there had they not called an election and dissolved Parliament. And that's where it all went wrong. So now we've got a new government. As Karen said, we don't know if they're going to present the same legislation again, so we don't really know what we're working to ultimately, but everybody's still working to what was going to happen. So that was the intention. So had that legislation gone through, both sets of accounts would be audited by EY. They would have had a disclaimed opinion, and we would have had discussions with ASETs as to how much assurance work they would need to do to reassure on opening balances, which would involve additional costs, but I would hope that the original costs from the somewhat abbreviated audits from the previous auditors would be less, so one would offset the other.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Roach.
Do I understand that the 2021 accounts and the 21-22 accounts will have a qualified audit opinion when you've eventually got them signed?
It will be the 21-22 and the 22-23.
And how serious is the qualification?
It'll be words to the effect of they haven't been able to adequately assure themselves that the figures contained within the document are 100% correct. I would imagine they will do some high-level assurance, probably around assets and pension figures. They're our biggest figures. So, but the detailed work they would normally undertake won't be done, so they wouldn't be able to adequately sign off.
Thank you.
I'm staggered.
Okay. Yes.
Just a final thing, I don't know if Karen's got any up to date, but the last figure I saw there was 750 statements still out there, and well, sort of not signed off. So we're not in a unique position at all. The whole thing's a mess, which is why they've created this catch-up to just try and realign everything to get everyone back on track.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Shenton, you smiled at me nicely. I'll let you come in.
A very, very quick one. Just confirmation then. So if we have qualified audit opinion for the previous 2 years' accounts, the opening balances, you would still be unhappy about that, and we're likely to be looking at a qualified audit opinion for the 23-24 accounts. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, I think it is. It will depend on the extent of work that your predecessor auditors do, and we will take that into consideration. But if they are not doing, if they're disclaiming on your reserves or your assets or your pensions, then we don't have the assurances over the opening balances to allow us to provide that clean opinion in year one.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Roach.
A slightly different question. Are you happy with the level of materiality that you're suggesting in this report? Which would mean that revenue or expenditure could be misstated by 1.3 million.
So we set materiality based on the comprehensive income and expenditure statement and the gross expenditure, which is reported within that statement, and not on the balance sheet in your, for example, your property, plant or equipment, or using the pensions, because we have taken into consideration that actually what is of interest to the users of the accounts is how you are spending your money. Therefore, it's the gross expenditure. The materiality we've set at this stage is based on previous sets of accounts what we do when we receive the unaudited accounts that we're going to audit, we will update and review and refresh that depending on what the figures are within the unaudited accounts.
Didn't quite answer my question. I asked if you were happy with the level of materiality.
So we're comfortable that that is an appropriate level of materiality at this stage.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If there are... Councillor Shenton, did you... That was my warning voice. Right, councillors. We have been asked to note the external audit plan for 2023-2024. Can I have a proposer for that, please? Councillor Shenton. And a seconder for that, please. Councillor Keithley, thank you very much. Can I see a raise of hands for all in favour, please? Thank you, that is unanimous. Right, standing items on the agenda. Councillor questions, I've had none received. And urgent business, I've had none received. So there being no further business, I declare this Audit and Standards Committee meeting closed.